Welcome to Watching Football Week with your host, one half of that dynamic duo, Sean Spencer, and South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer.
Don't play us if you're undefeated.
Where we celebrate past success while looking to a bright future. There's a youth movement in Washington, and they're ready to take the reins, led by firefighters.
Play aggressive.
It's a new day, a new dawn, no longer the laughing stock. It's time to take them.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And you know what day it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. I'm here with my guy. You know him over there. South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer. What up, Will?
What's going on, man? How we doing?
Always good. Always good. Contrary to popular belief, even though we lost, we're still feeling good, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, this is actually a big week here. This Saturday, I'm taking Patrick to his first college football game.
Woo-wee! Oh, yeah.
We got Missouri coming into town. We're kind of catching Missouri at the right time. They've got some backup quarterback that is not playing very well. So, yeah. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that should definitely be a W. That should definitely be a W.
It should be. Yeah, it should be.
But look, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys being here. What up, Zagnif? Saying happy Geico Day, fellas. Absolutely,
yes, it is.
Absolutely. But look, we got to talk about this game, and we're going to get right into it. We got our buddy here that is joining us, a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, Mr. Erik Sassak in the building. What up, Erik?
What's up, fellas? This is my son, Drew. Say hi.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, I like that blue. Man. Is that North Carolina blue?
Carolina blue. Oh, here, you want to hear? Yeah, put that in your ear. The other ear. Yeah, that's North Carolina blue.
Oh, that's that Carolina blue? Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Carolina blue. I knew you'd like that. I got my nice yellow, black, and gold on for you fellas, too.
Oh,
so,
I can dig it.
So here's what's kind of funny, Erik. So
all right, go for it.
I wore nothing but burgundy on Sunday. I wouldn't wear my Redskins shirt that had black trim. I wouldn't wear my black Redskins shirt. I was like, I'm going burgundy shirt, burgundy socks, burgundy pants, like a burgundy hat. Like I refuse to wear any gold on Sunday because of the game.
Yeah,
I figured
I wore my sneakers.
Okay.
And then, of course, we had our terrible towels on.
I was gonna say, I figured there'd be enough gold in the stadium as is. I didn't need to be rocking any of it.
Well, I think the last time I attended a game at FedEx Field versus the Steelers, I got yelled at by either you or Jack because I was told you wouldn't come to a game with me ever again because I kept spinning my towel and hitting somebody in the face.
It was Jack, and yes, they do. They obnoxiously throw that towel around.
Obnoxiously, yeah.
We travel well. That's all there is to it.
They do. Steelers fans very much.
Speaking of that, we got to talk about that, man. We know you guys won the game 28-27, but before you won the game, you won the battle in the stands. I mean, it looked like a Steelers home game with all those terrible towels, man. You guys do travel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, think about Vegas a couple weeks ago. I don't think there was any Vegas fans in this stadium, and it was a home game for Pittsburgh because everybody went there. They travel well.
They travel well. They also live in in the DC area. It's 3 hours away. 3 to 4 hours away. Why would you not want to spend the weekend in DC with your family doing the touristy stuff and then go to a football game? And there's a lot of transplants that live in the area that are Steelers fans. So yeah, this is always. But I will say this. Here's my prediction, folks. If Dan Quinn continues to doing what we're doing, This will not, a takeover will not happen again.
Let's go.
Because you got to remember, these tickets went on sale in the spring when no one had the expectations of this season being what it is. And so if we keep going on this trajectory that Washington's going on, come back to FedEx, come back to Northwest Stadium, and you're going to be covered by burgundy and gold all around you.
Oh, definitely. They are on the up and up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see.
Sure.
It is for us too, man. But look, talk about it, man. You guys got the W. I mean, it was back and forth, two solid teams playing. Man, what were your thoughts? What were your initial thoughts of the game, man?
I mean, it was a battle. It was in the trenches. I mean, that game could have went anyway. It was definitely special teams, defense, and you were just waiting for the other team to make a mistake. It was a good classic. It reminded me, no offense to you Washington Commanders fans out there or Washington Redskins, whichever one you want to say. It reminded me of a good old fashioned like Baltimore, Pittsburgh, early 2000s, late 2000s. Just you didn't know who was going to strike first and make that mistake. It was a great game.
100%. Well, and I had a chance to talk with our old college buddy, Jeff Hartman, and he was talking about when we're, the Commanders team. He said, if there's any team out there that is prepared for a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we have to go against Lamar every single, twice a season. So we kind of have a game plan that slows him down a little bit. And you could certainly see that come into play a little bit. I mean, by all means, the Steelers defense gave the Commanders offense the biggest test. This was the most slowed down and struggling the offense has ever had. So you really got to give your hats off to Pittsburgh's defense. Were you expecting that?
I was not, but I was also not expecting those little loft tosses that Russell Wilson was throwing up there. And they just happened to be right there and catch the ball, which was actually a highlight because we haven't had any deep pass game since Big Ben retired.
Oh, yeah. I think there was a stat. They said Justin Fields, when he was in there with you guys, I think you guys averaged around like 300 yards a game or something like that. But with Russell Wilson in, it went up to like 400 yards, over 400 yards a game.
Yeah, it's like 425 a game, and then the running game is averaging like 160 yards a game. And that's an old school classic, Pittsburgh, running the football and then passing when you need to.
So look, let's stay right there with you. What were your thoughts? You're a Steelers fan. You saw you guys were 4-2 with Justin Fields, but like you said, once Russell came in, that offense is elevated. Pickens is balling out. Man, what are your thoughts about Russell being in there? Were you good with that?
I mean, they needed some type of spark because they haven't even hit the division games yet. That starts this Sunday. So when he went out in training camp, which I still don't agree with them having him push sleds at his age, the starter shouldn't be pushing those sleds and hurting his hamstring. But you had to give the guy a chance, especially because he's only making like $500,000 this year or whatever because of his contract from Denver. So, but they made the right move, putting the spark in there, and sometimes it's all it takes.
Yeah. You talked about, so you kind of helped me. I was curious because a couple of those times he threw those up there, like that touchdown to Mike Williams to basically take the lead. I was like, it kind of looked like a wing and a prayer to me, but then it dropped.
It was a wing and a prayer. And the funny thing was, I was watching it with my neighbors who are Commanders fans, and then all of a sudden they went, "What is that crap?" And then it went right into his hands every single time. So I mean, that's what he's known for, is throwing that stuff up there.
The moon ball. Yeah,
the moon ball works for sure.
Yeah. Well, as long as you got a.
I got to put you guys on pause real quick. I got to take my kid into basketball, so put me on pause and keep going without me.
We'll bring you right back in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Sean, you tell me this. Is that so? Be honest and tell me, because you watch a little bit more league-wide football. Is that Russell Wilson accurately putting the ball where he wants, or is he just throwing it up there just because he's like, I just got to get this out of my hand?
This is what he's done. This is what he did at Seattle. He threw it up there, and he had Doug Baldwin, he had Lockett, and those guys just found a way to get under that. But I think now it's actually more it's more effective because you have a George Pickens. You got a guy that can, as we saw, make crazy acrobatic catches. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh my goodness. It looked like, from like what you're saying, like, oh, what is he doing? What is he doing to? Oh, okay, that's what he's doing. He's putting it up there where his guy has a 50-50 shot, and Pickens has proven that 50-50 shot goes up to 75, almost 80% chance of him making the catch just because of his big play ability. Yeah, it definitely looks off. And when you look at him throw it, you're like, oh, here we go. We got this. And it even happened in one of them. He overthrew him by a mile, and we got the pick. But it doesn't look the best. But somehow, down from the heavens, he gets it into his guy's hands. So yeah, I mechanically, I don't think it looks the best, but if it works, I mean, how can you question it? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's becoming the league these days. Is it's not so much, there's a whole lot of scheming guys open, but then there's other times where it's just like, I'm just going to throw that up there and give my guy a chance to catch it, And so, I mean, that has become the offense of 2024 and a couple of years before that. Aaron Rodgers was great at that with Devontae Adams.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you can complete it, then all of a sudden it looks like, wow, you practice this every single week. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but look, so let's talk about it. We mentioned this game. Obviously, the score did not turn out in our favor. For, I'd say, a good portion of the game after halftime and into the third quarter, we had a lead. We were doing fairly well. I mean, look, their defense played well at times, but once we started getting the momentum and driving the ball down the field, and score the touchdown at the end of the half, score the touchdown at the beginning of the second half, we kind of looked like we were in control of the game. But what were your thoughts kind of going into that point and, with how they played out?
Very, very encouraged. And to the point where with this team, everything has been so surprising because Pittsburgh is a good team. They're a playoff team. But we were battling with them. And then we took a 10-point lead, and I was like, okay. And we were doing this while dealing with injuries. We didn't have Brian Robinson. We didn't have Andrew Wiley out there. We were starting a guy who really should not be playing in Trent Scott. On the other side, Brandon Coleman is playing, and he can play at left tackle with Lucas out. But Trent Scott, really, you don't want him on the field. But we were withstanding the injuries and still being productive. And so that part I thought was really great to see. And Sean, honestly, I wasn't mad at the result. I laughed when Johnny Newton went off sides, because they're talking about what you don't want to do is go off sides. They're going to try and make him jump. And I'm sitting there going all right, we're coaching these guys not to, jeez.
Right.
So, but what surprises me about this game is we're in a big game. We're in the number one game of the day, the most hyped game. It's back and forth. As Erik said, it could have been anybody's game. It was who was going to make the biggest mistake towards the end of the game. These are the stuff I'm used to watching on TV of other teams playing. Exactly. And we were in it, And honestly, at the end of the game, I feel like we lost that game. Yes. We were the ones that prevented us from winning, as opposed to Pittsburgh played well and they came back. Let's give them credit for being down 10 and coming back. But I really was just the mistakes that we made are the reasons that they had the chances to beat us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the name of the game, and we all talked about it in the group chat after, is the missed opportunity. I mean, and I know this has been your buddy that you've been calling his name all year long, but Olamide Zaccheaus, he might need to get docked. The drops, the muff punts, the kick, the times where he gave them opportunities and gave them the ball, you want to talk about frustrating, man. It was one of those things where I was kind of like, nah, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? But to be in that game, and one real quick, the crazy part about it is I look at this game and I look at the Ravens game. Both of them came to a fourth down at the very end of the game where we had an opportunity to make a stop to potentially get the ball back. Fortunately, we weren't able to do it, but we are putting ourselves in advantageous situations to potentially help us going further. And I think that's going to be something that's going to benefit us down the road.
Sure. I definitely agree. We talked about the mistakes that we made. We had a number of drop passes on this. Zaccheaus' fumbles were certainly a problem. We had situations that, Luke McCaffrey dropped a pass. Hit him right in the face that JD5 scrambled. JD5, towards the end of the game, had Luke McCaffrey wide open and was just a hair off, and that would have been that was right after the fumble recovery. That would have almost been like we keep talking about. We go for the jugular to end the game. That was the play call, and we just were a little bit off to getting it. How about Zach Ertz dropping the ball late in the game, and so we had to settle for a field goal, and it
looked like perfect. A catch.
It looked like a catch from the TV angle. We couldn't see. He caught it and turned, and stopped running. And like, wait a minute, what just happened? So I really feel like there was opportunities to put this game away. Yeah. And for the first time all season, we didn't capitalize.
There it is. So let's bring Erik back in.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
It's
basketball dropping off. But yeah, you guys I was listening as I was dropping off my son for basketball. It's exciting though. It's something that's been missing for both our teams for a while, but you guys much longer than the Steelers. Is even though the game was close, as you just said, you didn't capitalize on all the turnovers to make those necessary adjustments to win. It's exciting to go back to the game. It's exciting to watch the game. You got that confidence boost that every week not just you guys as fans, but even I'm sure the team, because the stuff I've been reading, they are just full of so much pride and energy that they're just ready to rock and roll. They don't care who they face.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I'm telling you that's emanating around all of us. We all are in that mood, that feeling. But what's more is that it's backed up on the field, and you can see it from Dan Quinn. You could see it all the way from up top with Peters and Harris, and all the way down. It's more of a cohesiveness, more of a family unit in there, and it's a beautiful thing to see. But look, let's go back into this one, man. Let's talk about a little bit of the offense. We'll go with your offense as well as ours. One of the things that really scared me in this ball game was the run game. Your run game with Najee Harris and the backup Warren. I mean,
Jalen Warren.
Yeah, we've been getting gashed all year long. And that was the number one thing that I was like, okay, all right, can we stop them? And to be honest, I thought we did a decent job. But at the same time, man, I mean, you cannot bring Najee Harris down with one guy. I mean, the way that he runs, and let me know if you agree, he has somewhat of a similar style, a patient style to Le'Veon Bell. I mean, do you see that?
He does. He's huge. He's big. I mean, he was awesome in Alabama. But when they drafted him, I was like, this guy's going to be a beast because that's something they lacked. They've had the smaller running backs for like 7-8 years, especially when they lost Le'Veon. And then he does have that build as a Le'Veon Bell. And he's got a chip on his shoulder this year because they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. So he is a free agent one way or the other. He says he wants to re-sign in Pittsburgh, but he goes, I'm auditioning for 31 other teams as well. So, and that's also started to happen when they switched over from Fields to Russell Wilson with more of the play action stuff. He's got more touches. He's got more drives. He's been getting 100 and some yards a game, minus the game against you guys last week. So things are starting to click on the running side of the ball as well as those little dink passes that Russell does that they end up catching out of nowhere.
Well, thank you for clarifying, because I was trying to figure out, like, all of a sudden Najee Harris the last 2 years, and I think injuries played a role, but he wasn't the same guy that he was his first 2 years coming into the league, where he was dominant and looking like this guy's the next All-Pro. The contract situation would certainly be showing, he's knowing he's got to get paid as to like where this happened. It's what's funny is his stats were only 21 carries for 53 yards. That's 2.5 yards per carry, but it felt way more impactful than 2.5 yards per carry.
Oh yeah.
I
think part of that has to deal with that. We had that crappy offensive coordinator situation the previous 2 years, which I think brought him down a little bit when they probably should have made a change at OC sooner, and they didn't. Plus, they had the whole Pickett situation. So, new blood, as you guys know with Dan Quinn, everything can definitely – new philosophy can just change everything in a player.
I mean, Arthur Smith he became a head coach because of what he could do in Tennessee by turning Ryan Tannehill into a serviceable NFL quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, I thought that was a great hire in the offseason. And, now that we're into November, you're probably seeing the comfort level of his offense.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, and then again, as I said, we start the division play this Sunday, and we play. I don't know what the NFL did to make the Steelers mad because they played 3 games in 10 days, come like December 15th to the 25th or whatever. But they're on Hard Knocks, as the entire AFC North is starting next week. So I mean, they're coming into the heart of their schedule, so they have that confidence coming into from Pittsburgh to go into teams against Cleveland and Cincinnati, and then of course we got 2 games coming up against Baltimore as well. That's
sure.
The swagger that they have at 7 or now 8-2, whatever the record is. The same thing with the Commanders. They've got that swagger, they've got that step, so that they're ready to go. They're ready to face anybody. Super Bowl rematch. That's what my prediction.
Come on. And look, and you back it up. The funny thing about it, everybody screams about your defense. We all know how great they are. But the offense now, especially with Russell Wilson, we talk about this running game. Warren Harris, yes. I did not know that y'all picked up Cordero Patterson. That guy is the utility guy. And when you ran him on a couple powers and a couple little sweeps there late in the game or earlier in the game, and I'm like, oh snap. But talk about that. Tomlin is and all that the offense, they're bringing in guys that are maybe not the best, but they play their part very well. You talk about Freiermuth, one of the tight ends, not the fastest, not the biggest, but damn if he doesn't get open, man. You guys, I don't know why he didn't have a bigger game. He only had 3 catches for 17 yards, but there was a total mismatch with him and Chin. And on that touchdown, he broke right out there and Chin couldn't keep. I mean, he was a little bit picked, but Chin couldn't keep up with him, man. So talk about that, man. You guys just put the right pieces in the puzzle now with your quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's what they've been lacking since they lost Big Ben. Is they had that 2-year they were out there in the honeymoon just trying to make it work, but they're just. And I think with the Freiermuth and the other tight ends as well, it's just all the timing. Same thing with the wide receivers with Russell in there now. This is week 5, so he's still getting his timing down. So I mean, the opportunities are endless for what the offense can do, especially as we go into November, December football when it's going to be cold as crap and windy in Pittsburgh. And then wherever else they go, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore. We do got to play Kansas City. I mean, so if they can get the pieces ready to go now for when they have that 10-day stretch where they play 3 games in 10 days, the opportunities could be endless. And I read a blog this morning is they're not even thinking about just making the playoffs. They want to go deep. So to do that, you have to have both offensive and defensive side of the ball, which the defense has been carrying the team for really 3 years, especially that season that Roethlisberger hurt his shoulder and he was in there or out, and they had backups that were like Duck Hodges and stuff like that. Those guys that were just carrying them, just make it do, and the defense would carry them. Now the defense is getting a little bit of help, which is going to be beneficial.
Do you think this team is built for December games?
I hope so. If they got a running game, they got the defense, they got a passing game now, which can throw the deep ball and test people. We'll see. We're going to find out soon.
Yeah.
It's exciting. As I said about you guys, it's exciting to watch the Commanders every Sunday. It's exciting now to kind of turn on the Steelers game like, oh, they're not going to suck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. We know the feeling.
Yeah.
But look, you talked about it. This week, you guys got the divisional game against the Ravens for the lead in the division. I mean, you talk about a exciting game. Will and I always talking about having November or December to remember. This is something that you guys are going right into, man. And I'm excited to see on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. The attitude's there, the atmosphere's there. And then for the last couple of years, even at the tail end of the Roethlisberger years, the Steelers took a back seat in Pittsburgh to the Penguins. But now the Penguins are getting old and those guys are starting to age out. And so now it's Pittsburgh is being reclaimed by the Steel City instead of the hockey team. So it's exciting. Everybody's all for it.
It's pretty amazing that Mike Tomlin has had the ability. It's kind of, I mean, 2 of those coaches in the AFC North have been able to stay with their organizations for as many years as they are and reinvent their teams. And like you said, the fact that you had some down years and he was able to go out and get Arthur Smith to come there. Terrell Austin is a pretty well-respected defensive mind, and he's your defensive coordinator, and yet, they've also had, coaches come and go, get promoted and go elsewhere. And yet Tomlin has been the same and he can reinvent his team. And it's really impressive because, I mean, remember just a couple of years ago, there was all those rumors. Dan Snyder's going to go after Mike Tomlin because the Steelers were struggling.
The plane was in the tarmac at Pittsburgh Airport. I remember that one.
Exactly. And everyone just started, connecting the dots. And look at Tomlin now. He's sitting there. He's like, look at what I got for you guys now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Pittsburgh in its own right in terms of their coaching situation for the last 50 years have been just unique. Nobody can touch them. 3 coaches in 55 years or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so they all had down years. I was not around for the Noel era, but I mean, they had that down years after they won all those Super Bowls until like the end of the 80s, and they had a little revival there, and then Cowher, that people wanted his head on a plate in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, they all went through it, and they came back and kind of reinvented, as you said, reinvented the wheel and put in the pieces they needed to, whether it was coaches or players. And I was, frustrated with Tomlin as well as we all get, but I mean, they stayed the course. Got to give it to them.
Who
You don't do 18 years in a row. That's what
I'm about to say. 18, never having a losing season, man. I was surprised because I did hear a number of Steelers fans call for his job in his head last year, and I was like, for real? And now, mind you, we're looking through our burgundy-colored glasses where we can't win 4 games.
Right.
So we're just like, I want to coach like that. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, anything's possible. But yeah, so it's exciting. It's exciting to watch the Commanders every week. Now it's like instead of like, oh, okay, we'll watch the Commanders. Now it's like, what time's the game on? Why don't we get it until if there's a 4:00 game, people are ticked off. Like, oh, we want to watch it at 1:00. But now it's exciting. And Dallas is on their way out. I mean, their season's in the tubes.
Let's go.
You only got to worry about the Eagles. I pretty much believe in the rest of your division at that point. And they've got some of their own challenges as well. The Eagles do, because there's some inconsistency there, even though despite their record on the offense and defensive side of the ball, they got a little, some stuff they got to work out as well. So you guys have that opportunity, that window there to sneak in, get a game or two, and get that swagger back and play DC football.
Oh yeah, starting this Thursday, tomorrow night, we got Philly. I'm ready to go. Look, while we have you, real quick, let's talk about that defense, man. Now, the one thing that I was really impressed about this defense, when we came into this game, everybody said TJ Watt, period. That is the one we've got to sit here and neutralize. Now, we all know you can't neutralize the guy, but we did a damn good job, in my opinion. No tackles, 2 pass deflections, I think 2 QB hits, 1 pass deflection. But when you stop him, you got Cam Hayward, you got Alex Highsmith, you got linebackers, you got that secondary, man. Talk to me about that, man, because everybody knows TJ, but the whole defense, piece by piece, is elite, man.
Yeah, well, I was talking about Najee and being a little frustrated with his contract didn't get picked up for that 5th year. You got Haywood doing the same thing where he was hurt last 2 seasons, and he's coming back trying to prove something. He wants to finish his career in one uniform, and there was all these, rumors in the offseason, like should they ask him to take a reduction in pay? So he's playing with a little swagger as well, a chip on his shoulder to prove all the doubters and naysayers wrong. So he's there. Highsmith getting that little ankle injury is going to be a little bit of a setback, but he's only going to be out, they say, 2 or 3 weeks. So by the time that December football comes around, it's going to be, I think they're going to be a well-oiled machine. But I do believe when Roethlisberger was on his way out his last year or two, when they made that trade with Miami to get Minka, 4 years ago, whatever, that was probably the best trade they could have ever made, because it gave a little bit of a break for TJ so that the focus wasn't just on him. Because if they got past TJ on the offensive line or the linebackers, then there was nobody there. But now Minka's back there. He's got a little bit of reminds me a little bit of the Polamalu. You don't know where he's going to be. So that was definitely probably one of the best trades in franchise history, is just getting him for a steal from the Dolphins. Those 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It was. He's been an instant. He slid right into that role. Well, and the other guy that I saw, and he really had an impact on Sunday, was Patrick Queen.
Mm-hmm.
His ability to run sideline to sideline, and you saw it because there were a couple times when Washington had good blocking lanes set up, and he went from his spot kind of in the middle, bolted right through, and he ended the play from being anything big. And it's like that was such a huge free agent signing for them. And he even said it after the game. He goes, "I get it now," on Instagram. About the the Steeler fandom and Steeler Nation. And no, I think they've slowly made some pieces on every level to get them back to what they used to be, that vaunted defense that's going to take away your run. They're going to pass rush the heck out of you with all their blitzes. A lot of run blitzes were done on Sunday to take away what Jaden Daniels can do and what some of the others. And it was impressive.
Yeah. And I think in the long run, it's going to be good for Washington as well to go up against a caliber team like Pittsburgh to get them ready for, as you said, the Eagles are coming up. Okay. And the heart of their schedule for the last one, we have 8-9 weeks left of the season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's all, they're in the trenches, and it's, it's fun to watch. It's exciting on both sides of the ball. And, it's just being here because, I often make fun of Will, Sean, because when I first moved to Virginia, he was like, yes, Virginia's the greatest place ever. North Virginia should be its own state. And as soon as I got here, he bolted. He left. And he never came back. So I feel like I'm more like Virginia than I ever have been because, I've been here for 24 years in Northern Virginia now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So taking it over.
Yeah, and
that's right.
I mean, I watch more Commanders, more Nats, more Capitals games than I do Pittsburgh, just because I'm here. But it's fun
Right.
to turn them on and watch and know that they're going to have an exciting game. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Fun to watch anybody that's winning. So as long
Yes.
as we're
If
winning.
they have another game like they did against Pittsburgh against the Eagles, where it's going back and forth, as you were mentioning, Sean, it didn't go their way last week, but it could go their way this week. It could go their way against the Eagles. And one mistake could just be the whole game changer.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
when Pittsburgh made that play in the first half where they did the fake punt, I thought that was like the game changer. And then they
Right.
turned around and came back from that. I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Well, and before that part in the game, I mean, you guys have been shutting us down. And
Yes.
then when you give us the short field, and all of a sudden, okay, now we've got a little bit
Game
momentum.
changer. Yep.
Yeah.
Huge gift in that moment. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yo, real quick, I do want to ask you about your corner, Joey
Go for
Porter Jr. We all know he's a legend. We all the son of a legend. We all know he's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
He was on the wrong side of a number of pass interference penalties, a little handsy, but I mean,
Yeah, a little bit. So just this little small amount. I mean, he's he's a legacy just because his dad was there and he was there as a little kid during the heyday. So he's playing with that chip on his shoulder to prove he's not his dad. And they play two different positions on defense, which is totally different from being a cornerback to versus his dad was a linebacker. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's still going through some growing pains himself. It's only year two, so that could be a good motivation as well. And then he could be solidify the backfield there for a while to come if he can just get over some of those, as you mentioned, some of those little calls and not getting it into his head as much as getting frustrated. He's got to be perfect every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wish we had a first round cornerback that was able to play, at least see the field, It'd be kind of
Well,
nice.
at the rate you're going, I don't think you're going to get a first round quarterback anytime soon with this team that you have right now. But as I read and heard on the blogs this week, that they want to come to DC. They want to try to get an opportunity to be traded to come to DC or have a free agent visit in the offseason because it's it's cool again to be a part of the Commanders in Washington. It's still weird calling them Commanders. Sorry, it's just not gonna. That's
You don't have to.
Yeah,
You
right.
don't have
Okay, the
to.
Redskins. Okay,
We're Redskins friendly here, so
go Skins. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yo, Eric, my guy, it's been
Hey,
long
man.
with you. We've been trying to get you on here. We
Mhm.
appreciate you coming on here, man.
Oh, I was so bummed last week as I was laying in bed. Lifted my head up. I go, I can do it. I can do it. My wife was like, "You do not need to get out of bed." I was like, I can do it. I can do it. Just give me my phone. I'll do it from my phone. And she went, no. So I was bummed I couldn't make it last week. But thanks for
We
having me on as a
appreciate
little
you.
recap.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
appreciate that. It's good to get a chance to, go across the field and see what the other team thinks. So we appreciate all your insight.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime you need a little special guest, let me know, especially as we get closer to the playoffs, the end of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We'll definitely hold you to that, my guy. For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Yo,
All right, guys.
Eric, take
Thanks
care,
a lot,
my guy.
man. Hey,
Eric.
enjoy the rest of the night. Good luck with the rest of the podcast, fellas.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Later.
Peace.
Bye.
My man, let's go.
All right.
That was great, man. That was great. Look, hey, we've talked about it. We talked a little bit about his team and his defense and stuff like that. Real quick, let's jump into our stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the things that we were really truly concerned with was how we were going to be able to run the ball. I think that was something that was on both of our minds, and that became an issue. Now, I will say Austin Eckler had a great game on the ground. Now, only 44 yards, but a lot of his runs were timely. Obviously, the two early touchdowns that he had were great, but he was really able to continue to keep the offense flowing. He was able to keep the offense moving, and so much so that one of the things I liked I heard by the announcers was Cliff Kingsbury. He sets his plays up, but his players are what's more important to him. So he wants to get certain people touches. And we had that 3rd and 1, I believe, in like the second or third quarter, where he put Austin Eckler out in the slot and had him run the jet sweep across to get that first down and stuff like that. So he's prioritizing certain guys. We talked about Terry McLaurin getting the ball. He's prioritizing Eckler getting the ball. That it's making me a little bit more confident if these recurring injuries from B-Rob continue to persist. But still, another game without 100 yards. And we talked about the Ravens game. When we can't get that 100 yards, when we can't get a consistent run game going. We were just a little bit off, it seems, at certain times, and it showed this game.
It did, and yet I think we were all shocked Sunday morning to find out that Andrew Wiley wasn't going to play. We had seen him on the injury report, but I don't think we really thought it was going to be as serious as it was. And so you kind of had to know going into the game that we were going to have a very much limited offensive firepower. If you're going to have to, John Bates was basically like, you're a 6 offensive lineman. You are the most important player out there to help chip. It takes away a weapon off the field. And Eckler, like you said, he had timely runs that was able to move the chains and keep things going, where unfortunately the rest of them really struggled. Now, don't forget, Rodriguez actually had a really good run, but then it got negated by a Bates penalty and we had to go back. But McNichols didn't really get it going. Rodriguez didn't get it going. And most importantly, they used Patrick Queen to spy Jaden. Yeah. And he wasn't taking those, he very rarely was taken off to run. The one time he had something open, and this is where we talk about just missing the breaks, they ran the quarterback draw late in the game. It was there. The sea had parted, and Cosby wasn't able to block Keanu Benton long enough. Yeah. And the one guy that could make the play made the play and tripped up Jaden. Boy, he had 20 yards in front of him. So we're looking at these stats and also saying the stats only show a one part. Like, there was some opportunities. We just weren't able to capitalize.
Yeah. And that was the name of the game. We said it, missed opportunities, not being able to capitalize on certain situations, up 24-14 and just letting the lead slip away. But I think, and we've talked about it at length, the name of the game is those drops, man. We can't overlook those drops. Ertz drops, McCaffrey, the Zacchaeus, and
De'Ami Brown dropping in the end zone.
Yes. I was going to sit here and have a certain big buildup because you like to call this guy out and say he was great. I told you this man is terrible. That go to De'Ami Brown, man. You cannot be any more wide open. You know what? I'm not going to lie. When I saw that play happen, I was like, oh, he's open. He's open. And I was like, oh, my hope and faith in this guy is coming back. Right in his hands. Right in his hands, Will. Come on, man. That one killed me, but I can overlook that one because I think Eckler still scored on that one.
Yeah.
But still, it's these little things that separate us from being a good team to being that elite team, that playoff team, that team that can seriously consider playing in January and February. That's something that I think we're going to have to figure out down the line. And it didn't hurt us too bad in this game. But it's one of those things where it's like, damn, missed opportunities, man. This game could have been far different in this game. We could have been, the league could have been separated a lot more, man.
Yeah, that was my reactions while watching the game so much. Was just that type of reaction because it was there. Hats off to Pittsburgh and their defense and how they played us. Hats off to their offense and being timely with stuff. And it was like, but a lot of it was Cliff got him going. He started off very timid. You talked about the gift that was that fake punt to give us a chance to get the ball and score. Almost instantly right after that. We started really timid and I almost like very conservative play calling. I almost feel like he was trying out the offensive line to try and figure out what can we do. And then he started to open up. And I mean, we've kind of already mentioned this, but at one point we had back-to-back scoring drives. We went 95 yards and scored. Yes. And then we got the ball back at halftime and then boom, we hit Terry on the slant and he took off, you know, and then we had that place rocking, and so it's like, all right, now Cliff is in his element. He's got things going. We weren't able to make it when it counted.
No. And we talk about the drops. That was one of the issues. Untimely penalties. You talk about the one big run by Rodriguez that gets called back, or McNichols or whatever. It gets called back, and it slows up the drives. And now all of a sudden we talk about you cannot get behind the chains. We can't get in situations where we have a 3rd and long. Because our guys, if they're not catching it, or something else I've noticed, Ertz, and I love what he's able to do. When he can catch the ball, he's great. One of the things I've noticed, though, recently in this game, Ertz is looking more like a Jason Witten. His hands, perfect. He can catch it. But he ain't separating from anybody.
No.
He is kind of slow in there because there was one catch where he had it over the middle, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. He's got 3 or 4 yards to the first down. And the guy pulls him up, and like with 2 yards left, I'm like, move, run. Yeah. What are you doing? So his hands. I can't even really say his hands are perfect because we've seen him drop a number of passes as well. So, and again, nitpicking, on this, but it's those little small things. If we get those plays, Zacchaeus, there was a couple of passes. I think the first drive they threw it. Zacchaeus came out of his break, and JD threw it just a little bit ahead of him. There's another play in the second quarter where he's streaking across the field and just outside his reach. Those little missed opportunities are stuff that we have not proven that we can get over those.
Right.
So let's go ahead and talk about the defense real quick. Listen, all things considered, I thought the defense played well. Now, the run game, they didn't have one guy that had over 100 yards. Warren and Najee both had, I believe like Warren had 50, Najee had 60 or something to that effect. So we were somewhat able to neutralize them. They had a couple runs. And with the exception of a couple of those moon balls and Mr. St. Juice, Mr. Hansy, we were actually neutralizing their offense. I mean, I really thought we played fairly well against their offense, man. What do you think, Will?
I did. And as much, we talked in last week's show, we said one of the keys to victory is going to be how is our corners going to do against a guy like Pickens and a guy like Mike Williams. And, I've actually heard this a couple of times where they say when St. Juice is up against a taller guy, he kind of knows his assignment.
Yeah.
It's when he's up against a guy who could run past him, that he gets really, really handsy. And, Pickens made some plays. Without a doubt. He made an unbelievable touchdown catch. He made a Russell drop that ball against the sidelines, in it. So he had 91 yards, but St. Juice didn't play terrible out there. Maybe the deal when he's up against a taller, bigger receiver, that may be his forte. It's when he has to, like this week, don't put him on Devontae Smith. Don't make him run around and try and chase this guy. Nope. He doesn't have that speed. But I will give him that he took the assignment of going up against Pickens, and he wasn't as bad as he's been.
Yeah, because and this is the thing, he knows that he's become a problem because I think on his like second or third deflection he immediately pops up and he's looking around for a flag. Because he knows that they're picking on him, and he knows that he definitely gets handsy on that. So, like you said, he's kind of sticking with them. He's there, but he's got to get that stuff under control. And then I look at that, and then I put on the flip side, Samerstill. Like, we know the size, we know Samerstill is not, he's still a rookie and everything. But you want to talk about playing above your weight? Yes. I mean, this is the second week in a row that there's been a quick little out pattern to a wide receiver that's wide open on a third down that the guy easily would normally make a juke somebody and get upfield, where Samerstill's coming in here, form tackle, wrapping him up and bringing him down with like a yard to go and just getting up. And you're like, whoa, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? And I know I get his size and all that, but you can't tell about the fight in the dog. This guy is just a dog out there, man. I'm really encouraged seeing him play.
100%. Nick Saban called him pound for pound the best defensive player in this draft. People said this is a guy the fans are going to love. And they were right. Yep. He's so impressive and so fun and easy to cheer for. And one of the other things what's so crazy about it is if you ever hear him talk, you'd think he's like this Rhodes Scholar type guy, this calm, cool, and everything. And then, nerdy kind of type talker. Right. And then he gets out there, like you said, and this dog comes out in him. Alex loves him. He thinks he should be our number 2 corner. I keep telling him, like, he's not tall enough. No, you can't put him out there, but his coverage is not the problem. Mm-hmm. His size. And, I think either him or Igbenogany gave up the touchdown to Pickens, but it was also a great play. The coverage was there. it was just a great play. So you're right. I mean, San Rousseau continues. I was impressed. Jeremy Chin gave up some plays to Freiermuth, but he continues to come around on this team. You know, him and Quan were the one that got together to force that fumble. That they didn't quit on the play. You know, Warren was down to the 2-yard line. They didn't quit, and they were able to punch that ball and rip that ball out of there. And so I continue to like what I see from Chin. And then the guy, I wrote to Jared this week. I couldn't hold back any longer. I mean, Dexter Fowler.
Yeah.
What a signing.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's talking about TJ Watt.
Yep.
We have our guy on this side too. And he got his 2 sacks and he made plays. And so he just continued to be excellent out there.
Even more than that, I think they had a stat where it said in the last 6 games, he's had 6 sacks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the guy is balling out, man. And look, this is a credit to Dan Quinn because we know he brings his guys with him. We've talked about Dante Fowler Jr. as one of those guys. Hey, let's just bring him in on a one-off. Let's just see what he can do. And he's definitely elevated his game. We're seeing that. You talked about Chin. Frankie Louvu's in there getting into action. Like, honestly, Will, I really can't even feel bad about this game. Like, I really feel like our defense stepped up and played great in this game. And minus a couple penalties and, you know, turnovers, this and that, we win this thing walking away. You know what I mean? I honestly think our defense is playing like a top 15 defense at the moment, you know, and the pieces might not show that, but at the same time, the way that all these guys are playing towards an offense like that, I am thoroughly impressed with these guys, man. So I'm loving every minute of it.
I think you're seeing this, especially with the addition potentially as an impact of Marshawn Lattimore, the defense can keep us competitive enough to do something in the playoffs.
Yes.
The offense is not the problem. The defense has always been our concern, but I think the defense can do just enough. And we've seen, you know, the Chiefs haven't had the best defensive at times.
Nope.
All it takes is to be adequate enough. And they're showing that they can be adequate enough. And if we can get Lattimore out there and kind of reposition our guys, you know, we'll have to see what we can really make a run for here and how they may get even better as a result of it.
Oh yeah. And look, and I'm gonna address this. Jazon Newton, I'll give you a pass, but I need you to watch the ball. It's one thing if you're out here at the corner. It's one thing if you're out as a linebacker. But if you are a nose tackle lined up right on the ball, you need to watch the ball. That's it. I'm not going to put this game on you, but I will say that. What up, Johnny? Johnny said, can we address the elephant in the room? Which one of these teams, Washington or Philly, will get the first win over top contender? Whoever this game will finally have a win with somebody 500. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
We'll get to it very soon. Very soon.
Oh, yeah. What up, buddy? What up, Jared?
Jared.
We're talking about you players, man.
He heard his name. Heard his name.
Can y'all beat the Lions? Well, look, Jared, I don't mean to do this to you, but can y'all beat the Lions?
He knows. Come on, no, the answer is no, actually.
Right.
You know, I'm not the one calling Super Bowl, so I'm saying no to that.
Me neither. We know where we're at. All right?
I lost my train of thought. You were going what you were saying. I had something to respond to it.
Jazon Newton.
Oh yeah. So he actually talked about that because obviously he felt horrible about it.
Yeah.
But he said he had been catching a tell by the center for the game, and that's what he was kind of going by. He guessed wrong. So welcome to the NFL.
Yep.
You bet if you're gonna guess, you better guess right because we were getting the ball back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we were. Hey, but we were again. We're in the game. We're in these type of situations. These are learning lessons. Hopefully, we will, be able to get it down the line. And the also thing you got to think is that this is no rookie quarterback. This ain't some guy that's been here 2, 3, 4 years. This is a guy that's a pro, a vet, a potential future Hall of Famer that knows what to do. He probably knew there was a tell and said, "All right, hold it, and I'm gonna hard pound him and get him over," because it didn't. The whole line stayed still, and Newton just looked like a rookie mistake. And hey, those type of things happen. We're good to go.
Yeah,
we're good to go. Yo, we have to move on really quick, and I do want to talk about this, the special teams, because with the special teams was the good, and with the special teams was the bad. I'm going to start with the good. You know how much I have been in love with our kicker, our punter, that whole thing. Zane Gonzalez comes in this thing essentially off of the street and completely shows up and shows out. 2 field goals made, 3 extra points made. And look, before this season, I tried to shout out our kickers. I was completely wrong because all the guys we tested out were awful. Yes. And then God dropped an angel, and Austin Seibert, he gets hurt. We get Zane Gonzalez. That is just a testament to the coaches that they have a good eye. They're bringing in guys that can actually compete and actually do well. I mean, think about this. We have, outside of the first week of the season, we have, 1 missed field goal? Because I think that was the one that was blocked a couple weeks back. But we really have been killing it in the special teams as far as field goals. And that, to me, that's huge, Will. This has been a problem for us for years. And now to not have to worry about this and keep us in these games and keep us close, that's so big, man.
It is. And going into this game, I was sitting here like, oh, man, if we've got it close, Zane Gonzalez, he's probably going to miss a game-winning field goal. But then when you saw him kick it, the difference between what I saw from Zane and what we've seen from Seibert and what we saw from Joey Sly and Dustin Hopkins, when they kick it, it's immediately like, oh, it's right down the pipes.
Right.
You know immediately that they hit it well. That's what I saw from him. I was like, oh man, this guy's drilling it right down the middle too. Right. Okay. Where before it's like maybe the other 2 kickers would be hugging those poles one way or the other, and you're like, just hold on to sneak through, So that's what I really enjoyed seeing. What I was like, okay, all right, do well.
Oh yeah, it was definitely nice to see that happen. That kept us in the game for sure. Now, our punter, Tress Way, got some action today. He got some action on Sunday, and I believe altogether, I think he had in his first 9 games only had a total of 19 punts. Now, in this one, he had 6. Will, my favorite stat over the years, the punter, if the punter got more yards than the quarterback, I hated it, but at the same time, I completely understand. This game, it did happen for the first time this year. Punter had more yards, 330. 2 punts inside the 20, 1 touchback, 1 kick for 74 yards. Now, mind you,
that's what Tress Way does.
Yeah. That's normal for him. That's every day for him. So, always good to see this. But Will, let's transition to the negative part of our special teams.
Yeah,
your boy, Olamide Zaccheaus.
My boy.
Your guy.
My guy.
Your guy that you
he
calling
is.
out. Yo,
3 years now, I've been telling us to sign this guy. Yes.
After the first month, I was like, okay, all right, that could happen. I've played kick return. It's when you have 11 guys running at you, it could get unnerving. I get that. The second one, when you are surrounded by people, you need to make a definitive choice. Either I'm going to make the catch, or I'm going to catch it, or I'm going to get out of the way. You made the choice that you're going to stay and catch it. You have to catch it, period. You can't not give them opportunity, especially where you were on the field, man. So, Will, talk to me about this, because I was yelling. I was like, bro, I don't ever want to see him on return again. Get Eckler in this thing. Like, what are we doing? Where's Jameson Crowder, for goodness sakes? That's where I was feeling, man. What were you thinking?
Well, come on, Jared, back me up. The sun. The sun might have been in his eyes. So, can you blame him here? But in all honesty, I wrote that too during our game chat. I was like, is there something going on with the lights, with the clouds? Like, what is happening here? Because they both hit him in the face mask, and I've never fielded a punt. So I'm going to own that, but I just feel like when the ball's coming down, you have an idea whether you're too far forward or not, if it happens twice in a row. And if you think the ball's coming in a little bit higher than you thought, maybe you reach your hands out. I don't know. Maybe you don't try and cradle it when you catch it like that. I don't know. But it wasn't good. We've kind of known for a while here that we don't have the most reliable punt returners. The broadcast on the Redskins side was kind of talking about, remember when they used to have Dax Milne? He wouldn't return it, but they knew he could catch it. And also, remember back to preseason when everyone was talking about Kazmir Allen? And the problem they said was, well, he's not very good at catching the ball. And fans are kind of like, yeah, but he's so fast. Just let him get back there and do it. The number one thing you got to do is catch the ball. You got to secure it first. And Oz had some trouble. So we'll see. We'll see. I haven't heard anything yet, but Jamison Crowder was on injured reserve. Maybe he starts healing up a little bit quicker. We'll find out.
Look, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? He was having an off game altogether. So clearly it was in his head because he couldn't catch. I think he only had, 1 or 2 catches, actually. A couple of those he wasn't able to get his hands on. So if we can, let's put Eckler back there. You said Crowder's on injured. Let's get these guys back there. But we cannot afford to have those mess ups and that type of stuff in close games like this, because that clearly that extra drive and that touchdown they got off it was the difference in this ball game. So plays a part. But look, before we move on, we do have to talk about something, and we're not going to sit here and cry about it, but we will address it because it needs to be addressed. Ladies and gentlemen, this game, the flags were flying in this ball game, and a lot of it was going against the Steelers. They're Joey Porter Jr. and I think it was maybe not Bishop, the other corner. They were getting flagged. They were a little touchy, a little handsy, whatever. But so were we. And I think, though, Will, some of the things that I was more upset about is some of the plays that didn't get flagged. Like when Bates got his helmet ripped off, or when Pickens tried to choke out Samerstill. If you're gonna let him play. But if you're gonna be touchy, what are we doing here, refs?
I 100% agree. We're going to do some criticizing right now. I'm going to first, before I criticize, I'm going to tell them that there's a lot of people in Washington who are not happy with the final call on Ertz. I wasn't upset about it. There are things that I'm going to correct about it, but I was like, he's right near close or short. So I'm not going to say it was a first down and they screwed us over. I am going to critique just that, like George Pickens, you know what I learned? This is the guy where if he's not on your team, you are going to hate this guy when you go up against him.
Exactly.
He does a lot of this. And Pittsburgh knows this. Pittsburgh almost was ready to get rid of him because of his attitude. And all of a sudden he's exploded, with Russell. But on that interception that for Jeremy Chin, and he starts running it back, and nobody knows whether he got touched or not. Pickens body slams or just tackles Samuelstill and jumps on top of him. And the ref runs onto the field to separate them. And my thing is, how is that a football play?
Thank you.
If you haven't blown the whistle to stop the play, so there's a live ball going, and this is happening right here, how do you just separate these guys and say, guys, get up? You can do that, but then you got something in your pocket there that probably needs to say, don't ever do that again.
Right.
And how the official did not call him for an unsportsmanlike on that play makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No.
And earlier in the game, there was a screen pass to him, and he did a little jump in the air, and then he put his hand on St. Juice's face mask. Now, I did see St. Juice get a little bit of his chin and then let go. But Pickens was grabbing his face mask and pushing it. I don't know the rules very well of the NFL to see if the offensive player is allowed to do that. But when I saw that, I'm like, that is at a clear disadvantage to the defender because he's sitting here like this and then his face is pushed back and he's no longer able to drive on the ball. And so, there was those two plays where I'm like, officials, what are we doing here?
Right.
How where are you at?
And that's something where, look, let's call it one way or let's call it the other all the way through. Because you saw a lot of that, and it's funny when you actually mentioned that one. I'm a fan of WWE and wrestling, and there's a guy in there that's called Roman Reigns, and his finishing move, he jumps up and then kind of punches down on the guy, and that's what it looked like when Pickens went. He went up and then kind of punched down, and I'm thinking the same thing you're thinking, like, that's not. I mean, I know what a stiff arm is. That's not a stiff arm. That's an aggressive move. And even beyond that, there was a play that they had where it was like a little out or a screen or something. Samerstill comes up, makes the play or swipes the ball out, and then kind of gets up and then puts the 4th down sign up like this. And then all of a sudden he's just right next to Pickens. Pickens takes him by his face mask and kind of jerks him, and then takes his hand off for a while. And I'm like, all right, whatever. That's going to happen. But even still, what ref, you ain't even come over and say anything to this guy? Like, you're not even going to come address that at all? And I think letting them play, I'm okay with that. But it needs to be consistent. Because I talked to you about the other time where, what's his name is Bates is blocking Queen, and he's blocking him to the play, goes down, pushing him down, and then all of a sudden McQueen's down here ripping his helmet off and everything, and you just see Bates, and that was the first time I was like, oh snap, Bates. Ooh, I'm going to a fight with you, man. Like,
yeah,
look at a country, big country in that joint. But nothing was called. They just separated and let him get up. And for me, I know the refs get a bad rap. Whatever. You can't see everything. And we have the benefit of seeing things, in slow motion 2 or 3 times, whatever. But still, there's football and there's whatever the hell was going on there. And the refs, this is your job. You have to address that. If we're talking player safety, if we're talking, letting them play and keeping everything, legit and copacetic, y'all got to make that play. That's on y'all, man. That's why you're there. So, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with them as well, man.
Right. I agree. Well, and so Johnny's talking about the inconsistency, and this is what I noticed about the Ertz play, is the inconsistency in calls. And this happens all the time in NFL games, where they will be so generous with spots in the first quarter and second quarter and letting drives continue. And then all of a sudden the fourth quarter, especially the final 2 minutes, now we're checking every single GD inch.
Exactly.
And you can't, as a coach, you can be like, I don't like that spot, but it's the second quarter. I'm not sure it's a 50-50 play there. If I'm wrong on this, I lose my ability to challenge. So coaches, they'll give it up. They'll be like, all right, well, we got a whole lot more to play. I'm not going to challenge this. But the consistency is what gets fans upset. Now, what got me on that play was I was trying to look at where is the official to spot the ball on that. If you look where Ertz caught it. So I'm not an NFL official. I've only taught college intramural officials. Yeah. But when we did it, we would have certain game recognition situations where we'd say, if the line to gain is at the 40, why are you standing 10 yards back from the line to gain, watching all this play happen here at the line of scrimmage?
Right.
Take 1 to 2 seconds to watch the play. As soon as the ball gets snapped, get to where you need to be. And that was one of my concerns, because I'm sure there was an official on the other side of the field that wasn't on the broadcast that we could see that had the line to gain, but the ball was on the other side of the field. Right. So the closest official to seeing things was not in the TV view, was not looking right down the sidelines where the sticks are. So that play recognition just did not seem to be there on a 4th down. So where are you? It's 4th down. What do you think this team's trying to do? Just like Zach Ertz, why are you catching the ball at the sticks and not a yard behind the sticks?
Right.
Mr. or Mrs. Official, why are you not at the sticks too, to be as close as you can? You guys have a bunch of officials out there. You have a referee and umpire watching the offensive line. You got side judge, back judges, all the others. How do you not get into proper position to handle that play? That's my biggest beef about the official, that call.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the other thing. We have to know, and so I get it. So earlier in the game, there was a catch by Terry McLaurin that had a similar situation where he caught it past the line, but they kind of brought him back on, and it was a 3rd down, but they gave him forward progress. So again, if that's the way you're calling it, that's fine. That almost made it look like, because that one was a little bit more questionable. So that one maybe this is the makeup call, because that definitely happens in games. But for me, what really steamed me up about that is that within 2 minutes, they go to the booth, they go to New York. Even Dan Quinn, you saw, was on the sideline saying, oh, they're going to the booth. They're going to show it. And New York didn't even take a look at this. Now, the crazy part if anything, you need to take a look, because where the initial play was caught and where they spotted the ball was a good yard and a half off.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
at the very least, you need to respot the ball. But then for you not even to acknowledge it, this is a game on the line. This is a huge play. This literally, if we don't get it, it's their ball. And they have like a minute or so to go. So this is something that needs all the attention. And I'm not for, them looking in the clock, looking in the booth and being up there 5-10 minutes. I'm not for any of that. But if the game is on the line, that's when you should do it. That's when you look up there and you consistently trying to look and see. And at the end of the day, yes, it was a judgment call. Yes, Madden is in my head. When you have a third down, you got to go past the sticks. You don't just get it at the sticks or before the stick, So I understand Ertz got just enough of what he thought and he got hit and brought back. You never want to put it in the hands of the receiver, of the refs. But at the same time, at the very least, with a game with these implications, two top-tier teams have been fighting back and forth. The very least, you got to go up, and New York's got to take a look at that. So whoever made that call not to look at it, and then for them to call it on the field and not even question it or anything, that to me, y'all missed it. Y'all missed one on that one, man, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
So, but yeah, Johnny said, quite time. Some refs will hear how the player is drawing another and ignore it when something happens. It's not right, but it's a human factor also. That is true, Johnny. They are still humans, and they all have side jobs, things like that. So, I've heard a lot of people say they need to kind of unionize and pay them and make these guys this be their only thing, so they're focused in on that. We know in other sports, the robo ref or whatever has kind of been out, and we don't know. I mean, as long as it's in humans' hands, there's going to be some room for error.
Yes.
But at the very least, this is why we have the booth. This is why we have New York. This is why we have all these things. Get these things correct. When the game is on the line and could potentially change the outcome, you got to get the call right. That's right. That's it. Simple as that.
Yep.
Simple as that. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys being here with us. We're going to move right along. We got to move on to our next game. Johnny, you alluded to it. Got to preview the Eagles game. They are 7-2. We are 7-3. This is for the lead in the division. We are undefeated in the division thus far, winning 2 straight games. Philly is as well, correct?
The Philly has, they've run 5 in a row.
Ooh.
Yeah. We are not catching Philly at the right time. They had some issues early on. They started this season out 2-2. They beat. Let me look at the beginning. They beat the Packers in Mexico, lost to the Falcons, beat the Saints barely, lost to the Bucks, and then they went on the roll. And they barely beat the Browns, and then that just like clicked everything. Yep. And right now the defense is playing really well. They've got Vic Fangio, who is one of the best defensive coordinators out there. It's kind of, he got the raw deal when he was a head coach. Was he Denver or was he Chicago? I think he was Denver.
He was Denver.
Yeah, was it for one season maybe, and then they went in a different direction? That is really unfair to that, because then they hired Nathaniel Hackett. Jeez, So it's unfortunate that a guy who's been a defensive genius for years didn't get enough of a chance to really do something. But he's got things going in Philly right now, and we are not catching them at the right time. I love it. Bram Weinstein said it. He goes, "It's not who you play, it's when you play them."
When you play them.
And we are not playing Philly at the right time at all. When we're also banged up.
Yeah. This was definitely the game that I was very concerned with. I really don't see any problems with Dallas this year. Obviously, the Giants, we handled them. This was the one where I felt like we could split with these guys. But to your point, after coming off that game that we had against Pittsburgh, now to come on a Thursday night, tomorrow night, and to play Philly, this is an impact. It's a huge game. And I mean, we look at matchups, and you look at their wide receivers are huge. Their quarterback is solid. We look at Saquon, they're in the backfield. If he's healthy, good God, the things that he's able to do. Then you turn around, you look at their defense, and I mean the Georgia defense, basically the dang Georgia Bulldogs and all
two
that
players.
Stuff.
There's two players that you need to worry about.
Who? We got Jalen Carter, Big Baby Davis, Nakobe Dean.
Nakobe Dean's a linebacker. Linebacker.
The SEC runs deep in this man over here.
He's a linebacker.
But talk to me about this, man, because I know their secondary. I know Darius Slade. I think Bradbury's still there.
Bradbury's there. Quinyon Mitchell, the corner they got the first round pick. He's been incredible. Yeah, I mean they spread things out on defense. You know, Josh Sweat, their edge is leading the team with 5 sacks. You know, Jalen Carter has 3.5, but then you've got another guy with 3. Another Nolan Smith. So there's your Georgia guy. There's another Georgia guy, 2.5 sacks. Bryce Huff, the free agent signing, the guy they spent a lot of money on, 2.5 sacks. So it's not just TJ Watt. You got to double team the right side. Right. It's coming from all over. You know, it's the inside pressure, it's the outside pressure that they're pretty good. They've got linebackers who can run. So I'll give you that. Nakobe Dean's undersized, but he can run. Zach Bond can run. That's kind of the idea behind them. And then they very much shored up the weakness last couple of years has been their secondary, and they were aging with Bradbury and some of the other guys and getting their first and second round pick on corners, one being probably the top corner in the draft, and Quinyon Mitchell. It's on paper. This is scary.
And didn't they get Cooper DeJean?
They did from us. Oh,
from that trade. Yeah, no, he was definitely high on our list. Speaking of guys that we wanted,
that's what people got mad at. Yes.
Yeah. Namely myself. I was very mad.
Yep.
But yeah, Will, I mean, honestly, they match up really well against us. Honestly, and this is going to be another game that I think is going to come down to the wire, but it's going to be one that we have to take advantage of every opportunity. We cannot give them any short fields. We cannot give them anything cheap. You know what I mean? And what scares me the most, going back to their offense, our defense, is what we've talked about all year, our secondary. And I'm going to tell you something. We know about big boy, A.J. Brown. We know about Mighty Mouse, Speedy Gonzalez, Mr. Daggone, Devonta Smith. But I think there's going to be somebody else that's going to be having this game circled. Yes, I'm saying it. Penn State's own Jahan Dotson hasn't done much this year, but I'm telling you, Will, he has this game circled. He's going to come to play because there have been people that have been slandering his name, and he wants to do something, man. But overall, they're wide receivers and tight end Goddard. I mean, I am losing sleep over that.
You are correct in saying that Jahan Dotson probably has this game circled, and there's a chance he could make a play because we have to put so much attention on the other guys. Johnny said, "Don't let Barkley get some freakish highlight." Man, we're so that happens all the time against Saquon and when he plays Washington, so we are used to that, you know. Right. And we talked about with Pittsburgh where they had a lot of carries, but we didn't do terrible against the run, but they did get after us at times. And Najee had better yards than what his yards per carry looked. Right. And so the run game is going to be scary for us if we can stop it. Plus, they run the RPO very, very well. As you know, all the stuff that we get excited about, Jaden Daniels, Jalen can do it himself. So that's a problem. They've got wide receivers that we can't match up against. Marshawn Lattimore's out. Okay. We're going with, St. Juice covering AJ Brown, or God forbid if we put Forbes out there again and Brown just abused him last year in Philly. Yeah. You remember that game? That was a great game from Sam Howell, one of his best games as a starter last year. So they create matchup problems for us. And so it's going to be quite the test.
Yeah. This is coming off the
not
Pittsburgh
fun.
Game.
And we had 4 days to prepare for it. 3 days to prepare for this.
Yeah, we're not 100%. We're not. Mm-hmm. This very well be a loss. I'm not excited about this game. And to your point, Will, I feel like we can play up for this, but my biggest concern is what kind of energy do we have? What kind of obviously the motivation of this being a division game, of being, trying to be the number 1 seed in our division, trying to, figure all that. But when we have this coming off of the heartbreaking loss just 2 or 3 days ago, now coming into this ball game, I mean, are we going to be able to get up for this game?
I'm not worried about motivation. I'll be honest with this coaching staff. I think kind of talk about when we saw them go up against Pittsburgh and be down a couple guys, but able to rally and kind of come up with a good game plan. Motivation is not something I'm too worried about. And Dan Quinn talks about, they were crushed. Let's also remember this team was crushed coming off that loss. So there's your motivation. I mean, I think, was it Sam Cosme might have said it? He's like, maybe the best thing for us is we don't have to wait a week before we get to play again. We're upset, we're pissed off, and we get to play in 3 nights, 4 nights,
I'm glad about that. Yeah.
Right.
Get it out of the way and have these guys wearing. Sean, didn't you compare Jahan to cotton candy? I don't believe I did, Johnny.
No idea.
I don't believe I did. Look, we got to go ahead. You know what we do, ladies and gentlemen. We always got to bring out our keys to victory. Will, you got one job, man.
I forgot. I have an excuse.
Yeah.
We're getting a new car on Friday, so I had to turn the car into the mechanic to get the final fixing. So I don't have my normal keys.
Right.
There's my excuse. I apologize.
I can take it. Yo, we are doing our keys to victory, where we give you guys 2 keys of one at a time, why we think or how we think our team can pull off the victory against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night. Will, what is your first key to victory?
You can start predicting everything I'm going to say because I say it every single week, but it matters in this game too. Yeah. I'm really going to watch if the offense can slow down the game, our offense.
Yep.
You've talked about how important in the games against Pittsburgh and Baltimore that when we haven't been able to establish a run game, how much we've struggled, or it's been that much more challenging. In a game against Philly, the last thing we need to do is give them the ball again to go after our defense. And so it seems like Brian Robinson is tracking at the moment to play. But if we are able to, Cliff Kingsbury, dial it up, we're going to need your best run plays with Jaden Daniels, confusing them. If we can have 95-yard drives, if we can keep them off the field, kind of like the way Taylor Heineke did a couple years ago on a Monday night, that was the recipe to beat Philly.
Oh, yeah. And if you guys look at the opening clip where my guy Will says, don't play us on Monday night. You don't play us if you're undefeated. That was from that game where we shocked the world and shut down Philly. Hey, I love this. Eckler needs to have a breakout game this week. Absolutely. For me, my first key to victory is going to be we have to make
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Sorry.
I blank too because we say Jaden Daniels so much.
I was like, I don't want to say Jaden. Why do I keep thinking Jaden? We got to make Jalen Hurts turnover prone. He has 5 interceptions. He's got a couple of fumbles that he's lost. Whenever he scrambles out, he carries that ball like a loaf of bread. We have got to be able to come up with a couple of turnovers. We've been getting in the backfield. We've been affecting the quarterback. We did it to Russell Wilson last week or on Sunday. We have got to be able to speed up Jalen Hurts' process, potentially lead him into turn the ball over, either fumbling it because we know he's going to be running or throwing ill-advised or ill-timed interceptions. That will definitely create more opportunities on offense for us, and we definitely got to take advantage of that. So he is susceptible to turning the ball over from time to time. And when we've known once he turns the ball over, he starts to kind of get in his head a little bit. At least that's kind of what happened in college, and we've seen it a little bit in the pros. So we have got to turn the ball. We got to get into his head and get him to turn the ball over. What's your second one, Will?
Kind of torn on this, because I'm really worried about our defense. with their run game, with the fact I want to say like, oh, take out their run game, make them rely on the pass. Well, he can just throw it up there to AJ Brown like he did last year. Exactly. And AJ Brown torched us. So I'm really struggling. So I think I'm going to say the key to victory, I hope I didn't pick yours, is going to be our kicking game and points. This is usually something you always talk about. We need to get points. We need to convert because we are, this is one of those games where it's going to be punch, counter punch, kind of like the Steelers game was a little bit. And if you have to settle for a field goal, you got to make the field goals. But we need to be able to convert and make some plays and keep getting points up there to keep that. We keep scoring near 30 points. We need to keep that going because I don't know if we can stop them.
Right. And so that's my other one. I don't know. This kind of mimics the first thing you said, but essentially what we did in that game with Heineke was we had, I think in the first half, we had 2 like 8-9 minute drives. We kept them off the field and it was cold. So by the time they came back on the field, they were cold. They were, they weren't able to get their drives moving. And we, like you said, limited the time that they had. We have to do that. Period. That's how we're going to stop their offense. Keep them on the sidelines. Because I just, the way that we're playing right now, you've mentioned it, a week ago, is that you feel like the dam is going to break. You know what I mean? We had these guys, the Steelers down to 14, and it was just like, okay, we just cannot stop them. Like, just stop them. They were able to score and win the game. But in this game, at all costs, even if that means 10 play, 15 play drives, like the old Giants used to do back in the 90s, we need to dominate the time of possession and keep them on the sidelines altogether, because that is the way that we can keep this high-powered offense off kilter, because I don't trust our secondary against A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Goddard, Jahan. I don't trust us against Saquon and Hurts in the run game. And there's nowhere that I can pinpoint, like you were saying, I can't go here. I can't go there. I can't do this. I can't. No, just keep them off the field.
Yeah.
Try to keep them off the field. So that's how we're going to get it done. Hopefully we can, but we'll definitely see. We will see.
Yep.
We will see. All right. One more thing, ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here, we got to do it. We always do. Giving our score predictions tomorrow night, playing the Eagles. Will, what is your score from this game, man?
It's like we said earlier, it's not who you play when you play them. We're not getting Pittsburgh or Philly at a good time. We'll see if Wiley might be able to play. B-Rob may be back, but we are, Biotish is kind of hurting there with his ankle. So I think we're just bruised up. Eagles 24, Washington 20.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This isn't the Giants 2 years ago, Johnny. We're not tying with these guys, all right? Nope. It's definitely not happening. For me, I think this is going to be kind of like that. The game with Sam Howell was it last year, where we went toe to toe with them and they beat us late. I think they're going to win 31-28. And it's going to be a Jake Elliott field goal from like 55 plus, where he's going to kill us in that. You know what I mean? But I think we're going to go toe to toe with them throughout the game. But I think it's going to come down to a field goal late in the game. So there we go. Here we go.
Sounds good.
So look, ladies and gentlemen, we want to send a special shout out to our guy, Erik Sassak, that came on. The E-Rock was able to come out here, spend a little bit of time with us, talk some football. His Steelers did get the victory over us. We have a game tomorrow night playing the Philadelphia Eagles, Thursday night football. And look, we've talked about this, Will, how over the years, Thursday night was the game, the throwaway game. Nobody wanted to see that. Nobody wanted to see this game. This year, it's been a lot of good ones. I mean, was it the Ravens-Bengals game a week ago that went down to the wire? You got this one. We played the Bengals. That was a close game earlier in the season. So these Thursday night games are good, and I fully expect this one to be the same way.
Let's hope so. I was actually, it's funny how good the game was last week, because earlier I was watching the Ravens-Bengals game, and I was like, this game is terrible. Yeah. I was like, the NFL's got to stop this Thursday stuff. Like, as fun as it is, like Thursday's like you're getting into the weekend, and it's kind of relaxing to watch the game. I was like, it's just not good football being played. And then that was a great game. So I was wrong.
Oh, yeah. And look, we all know it doesn't compare to Maction. All right. the MAC conference. Kent
On
State
Tuesdays.
versus Miami of Ohio.
Well, I will say this: as a fan of multiple football leagues, as we are, I remember Thursday being a big college night, and the NFL took that away. So that part kind of stinks.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'm always still watching college. All right, I ain't got time now. Tomorrow night,
you watching Friday night college games. I'm like, I'm going to bed. I'm not.
Look.
The chat happens. I'm like, what are they doing?
Look, the Tuesday and Wednesday games are electric. All right, yeah. Jacksonville State versus Toledo, Miami, NIU, yeah. All these random things. I love it.
You do.
Yes, let's go. Oh man, yeah. So hey, look, definitely tune in tomorrow night. See what happens. Hopefully, Washington can get the W. And hey, according to us, we don't feel as confident, but it's going to be a close one, hopefully. So
right.
Let's definitely see what happens. But look, we're going to head out of here. Appreciate our guy Erik coming on the show. Definitely tune in to everything we got coming on this week. I know tomorrow night, before the game, I believe, or maybe in the middle of it, Let's Talk Football Ladies Takeover will be on there. So definitely try to check that out. I think they go every other week, so they might be off this week. But hey, if it is, definitely check them out. And Let's Talk College Football should be back this Saturday, so check it out. Nice. Oh yeah, I know my guy's a little excited about the game he's going to this weekend.
Yes.
Let's go South Carolina.
Who knows? Maybe I'll call in from the tailgate. We'll see.
Come on. You're always welcome.
Under a Carolina sky, I stand, Sean.
Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. Oh, man, we appreciate y'all being with us, but you already know how we got to go. Left hand up, people.
Left hand up.
Gibbs, you got a good chance. Let me tell you something about some good fans. Back in the day, RFK was our palace. If you don't know, you need to ask about us. Think we're gonna lose? Well, I can't believe you doubt us. Had the whole crowd screaming out, "We want talent!" Those haters can't stand us. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders.